Welcome, everyone, to the Rosie and Bill Show. Our guest this week brings more energy to the stage than a nuclear power plant. And if you go to one of his shows, you better buckle up because you're in for one heck of a ride. Please welcome to the Rosie and Bill Show, comedian Dale Jones. Dale, welcome to the show, sir.
Hello. I feel like I should be bouncing around like Daffy Duck right now after that intro. Just coming around, and then just leave.
That
Thanks
was
for having me.
definitely
Thank
a
you,
good
Greg.
impersonation.
Right.
Dale, you are fantastic. We've watched some of your comedy, and you do have an exorbitant amount of energy, which is fantastic. So we're going to take a trip back, though, to that two-story double wide in Illinois. What was life like growing up as a kid there?
We had 10 acres out in the country. No, I didn't know it was a trailer, by the way, or a double wide. I had no idea. Our house was shaped like that. I had no clue that my dad built a second story and had a chimney put on it and really white trashed it up. I had no, I thought it was kind of fancy. Yeah, and we had three channels. We had the little antenna thing you twist. And I would watch TV or whatever movie I watched, Abbott Costello or cartoons, and then I had 10 acres to run out and act out the whole show.
What's your
So,
favorite Abbott and Costello movie?
oh, the one everybody likes, the Meet
Who's on third?
Frankenstein. Yeah, Meets Frankenstein. That
Oh,
one
that's
was,
my favorite. Yeah.
yeah, that's the one. That's one of their biggest, most popular. But I ended up buying. I mean, I liked all of them. I liked the In the Navy and Buck Privates and Who Done It. I liked all those. I just like running around the house going woohoo, and doing all the stupid Abbott Costello. But I like the Jerry Lewis stuff too. I mean, I watched that also, and anything that was goofy and physical, which was pretty much all they were playing back then, and that along with Looney Tunes, and that just had a huge effect on me.
Hey, everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you. And we also appreciate our first and longest running sponsor of the show, Tom and his team of insurance professionals at the Malin Agency. If world-class customer service and doing business with someone you can trust is important to you, give Tom and his team a call today for all your insurance needs.
When did you realize that you could do that and make people laugh?
Well, this is kind of sad, but I got picked on a lot when I was like kindergarten, and I remember this kid on the bus going, "Hey, if you make everybody giggle, they won't pick on you," and it just kind of snapped in my head, and I was already watching stuff like that, and I was like, that's a good idea. And then that's when I started putting it into action. But I always was attracted to the funny stuff. My mom would get me out of bed and watch Johnny Carson and watch comics. And yeah, anything that was silly, I just was drawn to. And that was all through my, till now, still.
Well, Dale, that brings me to my next question because I read where, let me see if I want to make sure I get this exactly right. January 12th, 1993, there's
Yes.
an open mic night at Zany's in Nashville, and you get up and give it a shot. So how did you get from Illinois to Nashville, and what gave you the inspiration to take what we were just talking about, making people laugh, trying to keep from getting bullied, to then going up on the stage, being brave enough to go on the stage and take a shot at stand-up?
Well, I was class clown in grade school, and then I was class clown in high school. And to be honest, after that, I could have just walked out of that school and been happy with that. That's pretty much all I wanted. So at the beginning of my senior year, I'm like, I'm done. I've done everything I've wanted to do here. Now it's just hallway shows in between here. I just run out and be silly. And then we went from there. I went to ITT in Evansville and took drafting, which my mother and father just looked at me like, what? And I just thought I was supposed to leave. Everybody else was going to college. So I went out and partied for 6 months, and I was tracing my roommate's drawings and then and turning them in. And the teacher goes, "You're going to be an excellent engineer, Dale." And I'm in my head going, "Yeah, if my roommate Adrian's sitting beside me the rest of my life." Um, so I quit and went back and told my mom and dad I was sorry, and I paid for the rest of the college of the 6 months, and did just job after job, working in a lumber yard, and then I ended up going to Orlando, Florida, and working with my uncle, and I was there for a while, and then Dad got a job in Nashville. He was a printer, and he did album covers. He did the artwork for album covers.
Oh, wow.
And so I was there for 2 years, driving a forklift, working for Manpower, temp agencies, stuff like that. And there was a comedy club in town, and I kept going there every week and just sitting and watching. And eventually my friends dared me. They said, "You're running around here like an idiot. Why don't you go up there and try it?" And so I went for a month and watched every Tuesday for a month. And then I wrote what I thought was 11 minutes worth of comedy. And I found out when I got on stage that night, it was 20 seconds. I was horrible. I'd never been on stage. I'd never done anything. And I was talking 100 mile an hour. And I got one laugh. And the laugh I got is because I said a line and I go, "Well," and I screwed up my words. And I go, "Well, I messed that up, but I didn't say the word mess. I said F." And the room exploded. And that was the first laugh I ever really got from, and there was 200 people there. And I ran off stage and hugged a complete stranger and went, "That was great." And they looked at me like I was an idiot. And I go, "I'll be back next week." And that was the hook. That was the thing right there. That was my first big laugh.
One laugh.
Yeah. You get that one big, and this was the end of the boom. I mean, 93, they were still packing the house out, and Tuesday open mic, there was 20 comics that went up. I was like number 20. And that's all I needed. I got that one laugh. And I was still horrible after that. I was horrible for a very long time. I ended up getting kicked off the I ended up getting kicked off the I just hit a button. Screwed things up.
No, we still got you.
Oh, we still got me? Okay. I ended up getting kicked off the open mic night because they told me I wasn't funny. And I said, "I've been doing it." That's
the purpose of an open mic night.
I know. And I said, "Well, it's Tuesday and it's 3 minutes and it's free." And they go, "It's not working, Dale. It's not working." He goes, "You can sit in the back and watch all the shows you want, but you're not going up till you figure this out." So I started doing open mic. It was the best thing to happen, to be honest. I started doing open mic at other clubs and started figuring things out. And then there was a class, and I took the class and I dumped the 5 minutes that I had, and which wasn't 5 minutes. And I ended up just rewriting stuff. And that's when I found out I really liked physical stuff. And I did a toy monkey, which was me putting a headband on and doing like this and making a and within that was probably 6 months in. And by another year and a half, I was full time and on the road. So once I got it, it just snowballed.
What was your process like, though? Were you just started writing? Is that what they told you to do in the class? Like how did you hone that?
I wrote backwards. I always have. I thought of something funny, like I wanted to do a toy monkey. And then I was like, "Well, how do you get to that?" Then I would see something like, "Well, funnel cakes. Those are funny. How do I get the word funnel cake?" It was very bizarre. I wrote everything backwards. I still kind of do that. And I don't know. That was just every time I went to a class, they go, "We don't know what Dale does, but it works." And none of the teachers could ever tell me. We go, I've had club owners tell me that too. "We don't understand what you do, but the crowd seem to like it, so we're going to bring you back." And I was like, "Okay."
And Dale, that's why I said in the intro, you really are one of a kind. And I think that's kind of what they're saying, but it's one of a kind that people like. And you give people the opportunity to get away for a while and to just have fun. And that's the one thing that really jumped out at me. So I'm wondering, though, in those early days that you were just kind of talking about, what are some of your favorite memories from those early days, first couple of years of doing this once you decided to go at it full time?
Well, I was friends with my boss and all the guys, and we all partied every weekend, and they noticed I quit partying. And they were like, "What are you doing?" And I go, "I'm going out on Friday and Saturdays and doing stand up." And then when I started getting more work, my boss would let me trade out somebody's vacation for my paycheck. And he would kind of go around I drove a forklift. He would go around the warehouse and he'd go like, "Hey, Juanita, do you want to give away your week of vacation for Dale's paycheck this week?" And so I had like 30 people in the thing, and they were all very sweet to me. And they all gave up their vacations as much as they could. And it would seem like it wasn't me gone. It would be them gone. And he covered my butt for probably 8 months,
Wow.
just off and on every once in a while. And finally it came down to it. And I said, I got 2 weeks in Ocala, Florida. And he goes, I can't cover you anymore, man. And he goes, you got to make up your mind. Do you want to go or do you want to stay? And he goes, and if you want to go, I will cover those 2 weeks and that'll be your 2 weeks notice. And I'll cover that for you. And so I was very blessed in that respect. And that's how I ended up going full time, because I had people behind me that were supporting me. And
I use this expression a lot, but I really feel like that's divine intervention. That people were so behind you that why on earth wouldn't you do it?
true, true. No, I get that. And everybody my mother always talked to, they said, "What's Dale doing?" And they said, "He's a comedian." They go, "Oh, I can see that." There was never, and I didn't have those parents that were also upset either. They saw me go from partying and running around and being a idiot to complete focus, and they were like, "Oh, he's really interested in this." And my coworkers saw that too, and my boss saw that too, because I was running around, and I at the warehouse we would put grease on people's broom handles and stuff, and just pranking people constantly. And he came up and he yelled at me one day, and I didn't answer him. And he came back later and he goes, "You didn't do that, did you?" And I went, "No." And he goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm writing jokes." And he goes, "Oh." Because I was assembly line, so I'm constantly in my head, because this I didn't have to think,
Right.
and which is right up my alley if I don't have to think.
Right.
So,
So how did you get from there, the 2 weeks in, where was it, California, you said, to
Ocala, Florida, yeah, at a Holiday Inn.
Last Comic Standing? Because you were a semifinalist in season 6. How did you get to that, and what was that experience like?
Well, that's 15 years later, pretty
Okay.
much. Last Comic Standing. That was in 2008. So I had been full time by
Wow.
95.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
So I was
is
just working the
fast.
road as much as possible. And I mean, my first year, I worked every week, you know, and then I realized after that, I don't want to spend Thanksgiving in Aberdeen, South Dakota in a holodome. so so you learn your lessons as you go. But I mean, it's all just, any comic will say that. It's all just stage time and writing and working. And I loved it so much. I still do. I don't really feel like it's a job. It's just playtime for me. I turn off the TV, I talk to myself, and I end up giggling, and then I write down what I laugh at, and then I try to draw the picture in everybody else's head that's in my head. And so getting from there to Last Comic Standing is just a lot of playtime. I don't even call it work. So, and then, but when I got the last comic, I mean, then I was very nervous that night. I went on stage, and then the guys from Cheers were judging. That made me a little nervous. I'd seen them since I was a kid, Cliff and Norm. And then every time I went up to audition, so they emailed me and they said, "Hey, just come to the club. You don't have to stand in the line." I was like, "Oh, okay." So then I found out that was a part of a thing. And then they took us in, and I went in front of the producers, and there was nobody else in the room. And I did 3 minutes. And the lady goes, "Well, we don't have anybody like you, and I don't get it, but we'll push you through." Well,
Wow.
that made me nervous. So I went out and I wrote a different 3 minutes, because I'm thinking, well, that 3 minutes stinks. So then I wrote a different 3 minutes. And then I go up in front of Cliff and Norm, and there's nobody else in the room. And finally, at the end of it, I was doing a thing about a dinosaur trying to pump a well, but his arms are too short, and that's why he's got asthma or something like that. I can't remember. And he was, I mean, it was one of those things. And finally, the guy that played Cliff, he goes, "All right, that was funny. We'll push you through." So now I think that stinks. So then I go back and I write another 3 minutes. So it's to the point to where when I'm on the TV show that night, they are saying my name and I don't know what I'm going to do.
Oh my
And I'm
God.
scared and I'm scared to death because the first six in my head have bombed. And so I went up and I said I was from Nashville because it was in at where I started, where we filmed it at Zany's. So I felt a little bit of home there. And I said I'm from Nashville and the whole room applauded. And then I did Deliverance the musical, which I didn't think they would put on TV, but they did. And then the mic stand was screwed up. And I had been at a club before where the mic was screwed up and I did this whole Roadrunner thing. So I just in my head went, do that. And then I just started pulling stuff and the set went great and I made it through.
Wow.
But I honestly wasn't supposed to make it though. They had everybody picked out. I found this out later. And when I went off stage, they went, "Hey, we've had a tie and we don't know who's going to Vegas yet." And then I found out they bumped one of the comedians that was supposed to go and they had me go through.
Wow. See that?
Dale, I can only imagine, and I'm really glad they did. I'm glad they did that, but I also can only imagine it must be so much harder doing stand up in front of just a couple of people like that than in front of 300 or 500 or 1,000. I mean, it's got
Oh,
to
definitely.
magnify the nervousness tenfold.
Yeah. They say with SNL when you go there that Lorne Michaels just sits there and stares at you. I can't imagine how hard that is. But also, I learned from when I was an open micer, Ron White came through one time, and I've told this story several times, but I think it's important. Ron White went up one night, and there were seven people in the crowd, and this is before he was blue collar Ron White. Nobody knew him, and he stepped out on the little tables and stood on the tables closer to the people, and he murdered for an hour. And he come off stage, and I was just open micer, and he goes, and he kind of told it to all of us comics. He goes, "Hey, anybody can kill for an hour in front of 300 people. If you kill in front of seven people for an hour, you're a real comedian."
Mm.
So I always kept that in my head. And I tell that to younger comics.
Now, your wife, though, is a comedian, Jody, right?
Yes, she is.
So how did you guys meet, or where did you guys meet?
I was working her hometown, which is McCurdy's Comedy Club in Sarasota, Florida. And had just gone full time and was running around with other comics doing shows around town. And they said, "Hey, you need to go see this guy." And she walked in the door and came up and said hello to me. And then I went up and did my set, and then we hung out afterwards. And I was glad that she met me beforehand because otherwise she would think there was something seriously wrong with me. That was in my head going, I'm so glad she said hello to me first.
Was it love at first laugh, Dale?
Oh, she's hot. She's extremely, yeah. I had no idea why she spoke to me. Yeah. But she said she saw me from across the room and she was like, "Who's that?" So I'm like, "All right." So I always tell people she's got a cataract and a glass eye. And, but we ended up getting married at that club. I mean, it was, so we met in 2008 and 4 years later we got married in that comedy club. And then the club has moved since then and we renewed our vows in the comedy club too. So, in the same club. So yeah, we've been through a lot. It's awesome. She's my person, I guess is how you say it.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Now, do you guys bounce things off of each other, new material or things like that, use each other as a sounding board at all?
She's a really good writer for me because she says she can hear my voice in her head. I think that's a little David Koresh. I don't know. That sounds weird to me. It's a little Manson, right? I can hear your voice in my head. The rest of the family doesn't think I'm funny at all. I don't know. I think they stare at me like, "How do you make a living?" But I think
Dale, that's
typical.
always the way it is. The family, God love them, they just don't usually appreciate their own. It's just, we take each other for granted. It takes outsiders and strangers to say, "Wow, you're amazing," for them to say, "Oh, okay,
Right.
that's pretty good."
Yeah, I think they're always like, "What?"
Yeah.
I think Jody, when I write something for her, my wife, she always says I'm dialing it up because I know my voice so well and I'll end up making it silly and goofy. And her style of comedy is more dark and demented in real life. I mean, she's She always goes to that dark side. People's called her Mrs. Stanhope. When she was starting out, they always said that. You want to marry Doug Stanhope? Why are you so dark and twisted? Um, so my silly stuff doesn't really roll with hers. But sometimes she'll hear she's handing me whole bits and went, this is you. I can hear you saying this. And I'll
Wow.
do it word for word and it'll kill. So
Wow.
we both do help each other in a way. I guess I pay the bills and she writes jokes for me. So
There you go.
I don't know.
Teamwork.
I guess
Teamwork
so.
makes the dream work. So Dale, looking at this now, you've been doing this for a little over 30 years. If we go back to that, that night at Zany's on January 12th in 93, how long would you say did it take for you to find your voice as a comedian? And secondly, is there anything that even comes remotely close to that feeling you get on stage?
Well, the day I got married, that was pretty awesome.
Oh,
And
wow.
my granddaughter comes maybe close to that. She's 3. She thinks I'm funny.
All right.
We'll sit there for hours. So
got good
maybe
teeth.
my granddaughter comes to that. Maybe.
Yeah, she thinks
But-
you're funny until she sees this interview when she's older, and she realizes she just comes close.
Yeah, I'm just holding on. Right. Yeah, exactly. And let's be honest, when she's 10 or 11, I'm going to be the biggest dork in the world. But for now, when she's 3, I'm something. But I forgot what the other question was you asked.
Oh, it was,
what was it?
how long did it take you to find your voice as a comedian?
I think it took me a good 5 years to really figure it out. To figure out what I really, I mean, I know I enjoyed the physical part, but then what happened there was I would go do radio and the
Oh.
DJs would be laughing and they'd be like, man, I wish you could see what this guy's doing. So then I had to backpedal, and then I figured out I really liked the weirdness of Stephen Wright and the one-liners of Rodney Dangerfield and the act outs of Robin or Steve Martin or something like that, or Richard Pryor, which comes into more storytelling. And so I really had to back and start to figure out, write the one-liner and then put the physical at the end, or have the physical in the beginning and the end and the one-liner in the middle. So I'm hitting on all levels. That's probably when I found my voice. That probably took me at least 5 to 6 years, I think, before I was happy with it. I mean, crowds were doing great. And I'd come off and I'd ask other comics, I go, am I doing okay? And they go, well, you hear the crowd, you're doing good. And I go, yeah, but I'm not hearing it yet, and I would write my stuff on paper, and on paper it looked horrible. It's all parentheses, cross your eyes, do a high kick. Like, this isn't funny. Nobody's going to understand any of this. And so, but once I got to where I was writing one-liners, and I was like, oh, now, and then it went, well, I found my voice, but then I hit another level because I went to Second City for a year. This was years later. And then I figured out how to put more acting into it, acting out the show, instead of just standing there and being a monologist, actually giving them a show, which is what I enjoyed too.
Right.
Yeah.
What have you got coming up for 2025?
We shot a special, and we're going to name it Special. That's my manager's idea. I think it's pretty spot on. And so that's being edited now. And first stop's Netflix. Second stop is HBO. And I try to be positive, but in my heart, I feel like if those don't work, you can just talk to me and I'll show it to you on my phone. So I got that, and I'm just trying to get as many clubs as I can, and I'm trying to work. My son does social media for me, so he doesn't think I'm funny, but if I pay him, he will put the clips up. So,
wow. Well,
so
he's
handling the TikTok portion, right?
Yes, in fact, he's doing all of it. He's doing
God
the TikTok.
bless.
Yeah, and he's got it all monetized, and he's working that whole. And he took TikTok from nothing, and he's kind of upset about that one because he goes, if we would have started during the pandemic, we'd already be to 1 million, but we didn't start till 2 years after that.
Okay.
but you're always where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there. That's
Yeah.
what my wife tells me that. So yeah, so I'm doing that, and we're doing the special. There's a couple other things that I can't talk about yet, but yeah, but there's a couple big things I can't say a word about yet, but I'm very excited about, and I'm hoping they come through. You know how it is in this business. You throw 900 sticks in the fire, and you sit there and wait for which one to light.
Right.
You know.
No, absolutely. But Dale, one thing I also noticed, and I thought I'd bring up, is my son has lived in Kentucky for the last couple of years, and he's actually in the process of moving to Florida. But I saw that you're going to be, I think you have a 3-night run in Lexington coming up.
Yes.
Comedy off Broadway in mid-February. So what can the folks in Lexington look forward to when you come there?
It'll be most of the stuff they see on social media won't be on that show. So it'll be a lot of new stuff because I'm scribbling to write a new hour. So when this one drops, then everybody can see new stuff. So I'm working my butt off on that. So it'll be a lot of material you haven't seen on social media. And it's just a lot of it's just silly, forget about the world stuff. That's what I've always done. That's what I enjoy. And I think that was always my escape. And then when I use it as therapy to go on stage too, so I can forget about what's going on during the day and go, hey, it's time to go play. So it's just a lot of that. And then I'll hang out afterwards and I talk to everybody I can and take pictures. And, you know, if they want a picture taken, I'll take it.
Well, I think that's great, Dale. It's absolutely great. And I just have to just make a quick comment. And that is the fact that having watched more of your videos than I can count, both the short ones and your specials on YouTube and other social media, that's one of the things I love most about your comedy is you just get away. I kind of touched on it earlier. You give people the opportunity to just escape the madness, the craziness, and just have unfiltered fun. It's great therapy.
Yeah, I kind of grew up that way. There was a little bit of fighting and stuff in my house, and I was never involved in it. So I would go outside, and I had 10 acres to go disappear. So I think that's part of my makeup. I would go out and play. And so that's what I like to do. And that's what I like to bring to people. And it has become a very therapeutic thing. I see people come up to me all the time at the shows and go, I really needed that. I can't remember the last time I laughed, which always breaks my heart a little bit. I can't believe when people say, I can't remember the last time I laughed. Just to cut off a whole emotion. That's crazy.
Is that the most rewarding part of it for you?
It has become that. Yes. Yes. The paychecks are going up too. That's very nice. But the really rewarding but no, it really, I've had some people come up to me and say, hey, I lost somebody and I haven't been out of the house in 6 months. And this is my first time out. My friends made me come here and this is the first time I've laughed. And I just give them a bear hug. You know, that is very rewarding. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. It makes me feel like I'm doing a little bit more than just standing up there and telling silly jokes. I'm actually helping somebody out, you know, and I get emails about that too. People say, hey, I've been watching your videos and it helped me out of a rough spot. And I never knew it was going to get to that. That wasn't my thing. You know, I didn't think I'd be, you know, Dr. Dale Jones comedian.
We thank you so much, Dale, gosh, for coming on. The time goes by so fast, but you are hilarious. And we hope that you come to the area. Bill's going to put in a good word for you in a few places.
Thank you.
We got to get you up here.
I would love to. That'd be awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Maybe we can do a live one or something and hang out.
Yes.
That'd be cool.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Zoom's okay, but in person is 1,000 times better.
Okay. Yeah. We can cover. I mean, I didn't always stay in the South either. We can cover I was in LA for a while and there was a whole thing there too.
I know you were in a few movies and things we can come back and touch on also.
Oh, yeah, exactly. My amazing scenes with Denzel. Those were amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would love to. I'll come on the show as often as you want. What are you doing tomorrow? You want to do this tomorrow?
We will definitely set it up, Dale.
Okay. Sounds great.
That's awesome. Well, Dale, thank you so much. And folks, as always, thank you for tuning in. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
You know you're weird when the hitchhiker looks at you and goes, "That's okay, I'll take the next one." That happened. I pulled over. All of a sudden, he had a schedule. I think I introduced myself improperly. I just pulled up. Hi. Get in. Yes, I have been arrested a lot. Thank you for asking. When I was 16, I got arrested for putting a for sale sign in front of the courthouse, and apparently that's against the law. So now I'm in the back of the cop car, and I'm trying to talk my way out of it using the potato defense. I'm like, I say funny, you say felony, let's call the whole thing off. Thank you for showing up, though. I appreciate it. It's really hard doing this job door to door. I'm biracial. I'm half sperm, half egg. My dad hates that joke. He's a chicken farmer. To be honest, I don't know what I am. I have no idea about my family. I went to my dad and I go, "What are we?" And he goes, "You are a mistake." I think that's French. All I know is I'm related to Pocahontas. I saw the paperwork and I don't see it either. I don't look like the grandson of an Indian princess. I look like my relatives ran the tilt-a-whirl. And when people look at me, they're like, "He does smell like corn dog." I don't even know what Pocahontas did. I know she was a model for Land O'Lakes butter. Also know she was an actress. She made a dirty movie called Pocahontas. I saw that on the internet by accident. I was like, "Meemaw, no!" My mom's 72. She's funnier than I'll ever be. She really is. I called her up the other day. I'm just messing with her. I go, "Hey, Mom, I've been saying Beetlejuice 3 times a day, every day for 20 years. Nothing's ever happened." She goes, "Really? Well, now you know how I feel when I keep telling you not to call me anymore." But she loved me. I know she loves me. She used to give me a big bear hug every night before I went to bed. I loved it. She called it a bear hug. Social services called it the sleeper hold. But considering the source, it was probably necessary. It's time to go down. I'm like, "I'm tagging out, Mama. I'm tagging out."
This week's episode has been brought to you by Doherty & Company Insurance Services for all your business and personal insurance needs. Our friends at Tennis Addiction in Exton, PA. And the Malin Agency, where exceeding expectations is how they do business.